Good morning. My name is Stephany. I graduated from Texas State University in 2015 with a degree in psychology and minor in biochemistry. I'll be doing your pre-med takeover today. So a little bit about me. I was actually accepted into medical school this past application cycle. However, after learning more about the PA profession, decided that it was a far better fit for me, and so I am going back and getting my prereqs to apply to PA school. If I'm honest, I didn't know too much about the PA profession prior to applying to medical school. However, after I became close friends with the PA and asked her about her work-life balance, and the kind of autonomy that she has, as well as having the opportunity to shadow, I saw that the profession was going to give me a lot of the things that going to medical school would. However, I would have the flexibility that I was looking for. There are pros and cons to becoming both an MD and a PA, and these are things that I weighed heavily when deciding to not go to medical school. However, I do feel that I made the best decision for myself, and if anybody is in a similar situation, I would simply recommend shadowing as much as you possibly can, speaking to these individuals who are maybe 5 years out of school, who are 20 years out of school. See what they think about the progression of the career, whether they feel that they have the autonomy that they're looking for, whether they feel that they have work-life balance. Are they happy? These things are very important to me when deciding which route to go, and like I said, I do feel that I made the right decision for myself, and I recommend you this. So I actually began my undergrad career as a biology major and then switched over to psychology my junior year. I believe my second semester. It was really late, and I don't know how I graduated on time, but I did. And essentially, I just really loved my intro to psychology class. I thought that it would be an awesome opportunity to better understand my patients in the future, and so I made the switch. So what AdComs said really set my application apart was my extracurriculars and the amount of them that I had. So I was in a sorority, I was president of the Honor Society, I was in pre-med club, and I also participated in 3 different internships. So my first 2 internships were at the same children's hospital. The first year I was a part of the materials management team, and I would go into the OR and ensure that all of the materials that the doctor needed to perform surgery were ordered and were fully stocked. The second year I was a part of the injury prevention trauma team, and I would go out into the community, educate people how to keep their children safe, what they should do if their child is involved in any kind of accident. Particularly the focus for summer is swimming accidents or keeping children locked in hot cars. And so we were doing a lot of visual demonstrations, such as bringing a car and parking it in the hot sun and having a thermometer outside, just so people can really understand how hot the cars get and how fatalities happen here in Texas. In addition, I would go onto the trauma floor and collect information from patients and really understand how they sustained the injury, whether that injury could have been prevented, and then I would provide that data to our research team, who would go and write literature to further distinguish whether or not these programs were actually helping our community and lessening the occurrence of these preventable injuries. Although my first 2 internships were great, AdComs did say that my third internship was the one that stuck out the most and spoke the most to my character, and that was with Upward Bound. If you don't know what Upward Bound is, it is a program that is invested in helping high school students who are either low-income minorities or first generation to apply to college, to prepare for their SATs, to excel in class. And essentially, as a former Upward Bound student myself, I wanted to return to a program that gave me so much and invest in others like others invested in me. And essentially, I believe that was more effective than stating in my personal statement that I someday hope to return to my community and transform it through medicine. Well, what are you doing now with the tools that you have currently? and I believe that I was kind of able to answer that question for AdComs. So my first internship was when I was 17 years old and in high school, and it was part of a program where essentially the mayor of Dallas wanted to pay for high school students to go out and get actual experience in a field that they would like to someday go into, opposed to going out and getting your fast food or a retail summer job. And then my next two internships were my sophomore and junior year during the summers, and I needed absolutely no experience for them. I simply just applied. I had some really good recommendation letters and luckily was afforded the opportunity to return to that children's hospital and to return to Upward Bound. So although I am taking some prereq classes currently for PA school, I also do work full time, and I know what you're thinking, she just must be at home just chilling, and I am. I am actually a remote recruiter for a corporate pharmaceutical company, and it has just really afforded me the opportunity to have some more flexibility with my studies, and I've really liked it so far. So I do remember that my overall GPA was a 3.5. I have no idea what my science GPA was. So this is actually kind of really funny because y'all are asking a lot about my current employment. So essentially I became a recruiter because I knew that I wanted to take either a 1 to 2 year gap in between undergrad and start of medical school at the time. And so I thought recruiting was a really good option. It provided me with the opportunity to pay off my student loans, and originally I began recruiting as a physician and nurse recruiter, and so it kind of gave me a lot of insight into healthcare. Of course, when people are looking for jobs, it's because they are unhappy at their current job, and so it was very eye-opening. I'm taking 16 hours right now and working full time, so patient care hours have basically been non-existent this semester. However, my intent is to work part-time as a scribe, either nights or weekends next semester, and somehow get it in before the application cycle starts and hopefully continue until I get in. Wow, I love this question, and I'm going to be completely honest. It was really difficult to get my dad on board. I think he just really saw all the sacrifices that I made throughout the years. I've wanted to be a doctor my entire life, and so for him to see that switch kind of in a 6-month period, and for me to decide that that was no longer my dream, however, I was pursuing a new dream, was kind of really difficult for him to wrap my mind around. On the other hand, my mother was very understanding. She really wanted me to do what was going to make me happiest, and I believe now they're really happy to kind of have me close by, and they understand why I no longer wanted to pursue medical school. How did I feel? Well, there was a lot of crying. I felt extremely conflicted. I had this acceptance to medical school that I was giving up for a potential acceptance to PA school, but I don't know if that's in 1 year or 2 years, and there's another standardized test I have to take, and it just felt like all of the sacrifices and everything that I had done over the last few years were kind of for nothing, and that I was having almost a loss of dream, even though I had developed this new dream. And it was a difficult, very difficult time. On top of that, I had to make the decision in 2 days. I did Princeton Review and Khan Academy for my MCAT prep, and The in-class Princeton review material, to be honest, did not benefit me in the slightest bit. I actually do feel that I could have been okay without it. However, if you are somebody that does need that information taught to you and you retain information very well when somebody is explaining it to you, then I would say go for it, but it just wasn't my favorite. I also utilized exam cracker books too. Whether you're looking to shadow either a doctor or a PA, please, please, please use your online resources, and I am going to show you an example. So I Googled board certified doctors in my area. This is kind of what came up. If I were looking for plastic surgeons, maybe that's what you want to be when you become a physician. I would just go down this row and start calling people. Ask if they have availability for you to come in and shadow. The worst they can say is no. For physician assistants, it might be a little trickier to find them, however, not impossible. This is LinkedIn. I typed in physician assistant into the search bar, and I put people with this title, and it brought me a list. And essentially, I can send each of these individuals a connection request, at which point I will be able to email them and ask them if I can shadow. So my social media Instagram is actually right here. Please, if after today you happen to think of any questions, I am always here to help. I actually really love helping other individuals who have similar interests or find themselves in similar conflicting situations as myself. Please just reach out. I don't share too much about my PA journey currently on my Instagram. However, I'm sure I will as I get closer to the time of either application or actually getting in. That's a little bit of a tricky question for me to ask because it is going to be based on the numbers that I ran for myself in the medical school that I got into versus the PA school that I aspired to get into, and also my personal opinion. So essentially the medical school that I got into was going to be $75,000 a year after cost of living and tuition. Essentially after 10 years on a repayment plan, that would look something like $400,000 to $450,000 depending on my interest rates. So I was going to be paying $3,000 to $4,000 a month for 10 years. I feel that that's a rather steep price to pay, and it was definitely a factor that I considered when deciding to go to PA school. But if it's the right choice for you, I would say go for it. If it's your dream and you're willing to pay, then that's great. On the other hand, the PA school that I would like to go to's tuition for 3 years is somewhere around $30,000 to $35,000,